From William James to Henry James, Salisbury, Connecticut, May 4th, 1907. Dearest H, I've been so overwhelmed with work, and the mountain of the unread has piled up so that only in these days here have I really been able to settle down to your American scene, which in its peculiar way seems to me supremely great. You know how opposed your whole third manner of execution is to the literary ideals which animate my crude and Orson-like breast, mine being to say a thing in one sentence as straight and explicit as it can be made, and then to drop it forever. Yours being to avoid naming it straight, but by dint of breathing and sighing all around and round it, to arouse in the reader who may have had a similar perception already, heaven help him if he hasn't, the illusion of a solid object, made like the ghost at the Polytechnic, wholly out of impalpable materials, air, and the prismatic interferences of light, ingeniously focused by mirrors upon empty space. But you do it. That's the queerness. And the complication of innuendo and associative reference on the enormous scale to which you give way to it does so build out the matter for the reader that the result is to solidify, by the mere bulk of the process, the like perception for which he has to start. As air, by dint of its volume, will weigh upon a corporeal body, so his own poor little initial perception, swathed in this gigantic envelopment of suggestive atmosphere, grows like a germ into something vastly bigger and more substantial. But it's the rummest method for one to employ systematically as you do nowadays, and you employ it at your peril. In this crowded and hurried reading age, pages that require such close attention remain unread and neglected. You can't skip a word if you are to get the effect, and 19 out of 20 worthy readers grow intolerant. The method seems perverse. Say it out loud, for God's sake, they cry, and have done with it. And so I say now, give us one thing in your older, directer manner, just to show that, in spite of your paradoxical success in this unheard-of method, you can still write according to accepted canons. Give us that interlude, and then continue like the curiosity of literature which you have become. For gleams and innuendos and felicitous verbal insinuations you are unapproachable, but the core of literature is solid. Give it to us once again. The bare perfume of things will not support existence, and the effect of solidity you reach is but perfume and simulacrum. For God's sakes, don't answer these remarks, which, as Uncle Howard used to say of Father's writings, are but the peristaltic belchings of my own crabbed organism. For one thing, your account of America is largely one of its omissions, silences, and vacancies. You work them up like solids for those readers who already Germanly perceive them. To others, you are totally incomprehensible. I said to myself over and over in reading, how much greater the triumph if instead of dwelling thus only upon America's vacuities, you could make positive suggestion of what in Europe or Asia may exist to fill them. That would be nutritious to so many American readers whose souls are only too ready to leap to suggestion, but who are now too inexperienced to know what is meant by the contrast effect from which alone your book is written. If you could supply the background which is the foil in terms more full and positive. At present, it is supplied only by the abstract geographic term Europe. But of course, anything of that kind is excessively difficult, and you will probably say that you are supplying it all along by your novels. Well, the verve and animal spirits with which you can keep your method going, first on one place, then on another, through all those tightly printed pages is something marvelous, and there are pages surely doomed to be immortal, those on the drummers, e.g., at the beginning of Florida. They are, in the best sense, Rabelaisian. But a truce, a truce. I had no idea, when I sat down, of pouring such a bath of my own subjectivity over you. Forgive, and don't reply. Don't, at any rate, in the sense of defending yourself, but only in that of attacking me, if you feel so minded. I have just finished the proofs of a little book called Pragmatism, which even you may enjoy reading. It is a very sincere, and, from the point of view of ordinary philosophy professorial manners, a very unconventional utterance, not particularly original at any one point, yet, in the midst of literature of the way of thinking which it represents, with just that amount of squeak or shrillness in the voice that enables one book to tell, when others don't, to supersede its brethren and be treated later as representative. I shouldn't be surprised if 10 years hence it should be rated as epoch-making, For of the definitive triumph of that general way of thinking, I can entertain no doubt whatever. I believe it to be something quite like the Protestant Reformation. You can't tell how happy I am at having thrown off the nightmare of my professorship. As a professor, I always felt myself a sham, with its chief duties of being a walking encyclopedia of erudition. I am now at liberty to be a reality, and the comfort is unspeakable, literally unspeakable, to be my own man after 35 years of being owned by others. I can now live for truth pure and simple, instead of for truth accommodated to the most unheard of requirements set by others. Your affectionate W.J.